Good morning. Thank you very much, Secretary, for participating in this. My question is with respect to what is, I believe, a growing chorus of voices saying that China needs to be held accountable for misleading the world on the numbers. And how does that look to your government? Holding China accountable. And my sort of secondary to that is in Canada, a number of our large telecommunication companies are going to be using the Huawei platform. Does that then, once we do pry open our economies, does that affect U.S.-Canada relations in terms of if these Canadian companies are using Huawei?
Yeah, well, look, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. Let me try to take the second one first, Adrian. With respect to Huawei, the United States has been unambiguous. We think installing Huawei equipment in a country's telecom infrastructure presents enormous national security risk. This is a entity that is controlled by the Chinese government, and for Canadian citizens' privacy, to have telecom infrastructure that's controlled by the Chinese Communist Party is a mistake from a national security and a privacy perspective. And so we think the Canadian government ought to think long and hard about that. The United States has made its decision. We're simply not going to permit that to happen here. And we've asked countries around the world to do that. As for how it will impact our relationship, we're only going to put U.S. data across trusted networks. And so we will need to come up with a solution that convinces us that these networks are in fact trusted. And we'll do everything we can to make sure we protect American national security material. And we just simply won't let them travel across networks that we don't have confidence in. Your other question was about broadly about lessons learned. I mentioned one about the supply chain that often goes back to China. We all need to think carefully about that, not just in the realm that we've been discussing for protective equipment and for pharmaceuticals and the like, but even more broadly for a broader set of manufactured items that our nations depend on. We need to make sure that we all have supply chains that our nations, when push comes to shove, can count on. And I hope every country will take that seriously. You asked one other question with respect to accountability. Mm-hmm. Look, today is the time to make sure we're doing everything we can to reduce risk, to save lives, to protect the people of our own countries, whether that's Argentina or Brazil or Canada or the United States. But there will come a time when we need to understand what transpired here, how it's the case that this virus got away from us and got spread throughout the world so quickly, and did the place that this originated, Wuhan, China, did they do everything that they needed to do to alert the world and protect us, to let us know the moment they knew that human-to-human spread was taking place, all of the things that if we had known in a more timely fashion, we might have been able to take action more quickly. There'll be a time to finish the investigation and the analysis of what transpired, and then when that takes place, I'm convinced that countries all across the world will evaluate that and hold nations that are responsible, that didn't behave consistent with World Health Organization rules and with basic norms. I think those countries will find that the world no longer can tolerate this kind of absence of information. We depend on that. This information, even today, matters an awful lot. We need transparency from every single country. That data set is what allows our scientists and scientists from all across the world to do the work they need to do to manage the situation that's on top of us today, but also deliver the outcomes, whether that's a vaccine or therapeutics or societal management tools, so that we make sure we get this right and we can get our economies all across the world going again. We need this data. We need transparency. We need it today as much as we did back in December and January when this virus originated in China.